Bartlett pear versus Bosc. I've always loved the sweetness of Bartlett pears, but when I compare them to Bosc pears, I find that Bosc pears have a unique, spicy flavor and a firmer texture that holds up better in baking. While Bartletts are my go-to for snacking because of their juicy and tender flesh, Boscs have a special place in my kitchen when I want something with a bit more bite and complexity. Bartlett pear versus Anjou. When I think about Bartlett pears versus Anjou pears, the first thing that comes to mind is how the Bartlett's bright, sugary taste contrasts with the Anjou's more subtle, almost citrusy flavor. Bartletts are perfect for eating fresh, but I appreciate the Anjou's versatility in both sweet and savory dishes. Their dense, smooth texture makes them great in salads and desserts alike. Bartlett pear versus Asian pear. Comparing Bartlett pears to Asian pears is like comparing apples to oranges. Bartletts are juicy and buttery, while Asian pears are crisp and refreshing, almost like a cross between an apple and a pear. I love slicing up an Asian pear for a crunchy snack, but when I want that classic, melt-in-your-mouth pear experience, Bartletts win every time. Bartlett pear versus Kefir pear. The comparison between Bartlett and Kefir pears is interesting because they are so different. Bartletts are sweet and soft, ideal for eating fresh, while Kefir pears are much firmer and have a grainy texture. Kefirs remind me of the pears I used to pick from my grandmother's tree. They're best cooked down into jams and preserves, where their firmness transforms into a delightful, rich flavor. Bartlett pear versus Bradford pear. Bartlett pears versus Bradford pears isn't much of a contest for me. Bradford pears are ornamental and not grown for eating, so they don't have the same delicious, juicy flesh that Bartletts do. While Bradford trees are beautiful in the spring with their white blossoms, they don't satisfy my craving for a sweet, juicy pear the way a ripe Bartlett does. How many calories in a Bartlett pear? I love snacking on Bartlett pears, especially since they have around 100 calories each, making them a light and refreshing option. How to ripen Bartlett pears. To ripen Bartlett pears, I usually leave them on the counter until they yield slightly to gentle pressure. If I need them sooner, I pop them in a paper bag with a banana. When are Bartlett pears ripe? I can tell Bartlett pears are ripe when they turn a golden yellow and feel slightly soft. Timing this just right can be tricky, but the reward is a juicy, flavorful bite. Are Bartlett pears sweet? Are Anjou or Bartlett pears sweeter? Bartlett pears are definitely sweet, and in my experience, they're sweeter than Anjou pears, which tend to have a more subtle flavor. When are Bartlett pears in season? I look forward to late summer and early fall because that's when Bartlett pears are in season and at their freshest. Are Bartlett pears self-pollinating? It's fascinating that Bartlett pears are self-pollinating, which means I don't need another pear tree to get fruit, making them a convenient choice for my garden. How many carbs in a Bartlett pear? With about 27 grams of carbs in each Bartlett pear, they fit nicely into my diet when I'm looking for a natural energy boost. Can dogs eat Bartlett pears? When my dog gives me those pleading eyes, I occasionally share a small piece of Bartlett pear with him. They're safe for dogs in moderation, but I always make sure to remove the seeds and core first. Do Bartlett pears get soft? I love when Bartlett pears get soft because that's when they're at their juiciest and sweetest, perfect for eating fresh. How to prune a Bartlett pear tree. Pruning my Bartlett pear tree involves removing dead or weak branches in late winter to early spring. This helps keep the tree healthy and promotes better fruit production. What cheese goes with Bartlett pears? Pairing Bartlett pears with cheese is a delight. I often go for something creamy like brie or a sharp contrast like blue cheese for a balanced and sophisticated snack. When do Bartlett pear trees bloom? Seeing my Bartlett pear tree bloom in spring is a highlight of the season. The delicate white flowers signal that fruit will follow, adding to my anticipation. Where are Bartlett pears grown? I know Bartlett pears are primarily grown in California, Oregon, and Washington. These regions provide the perfect conditions for growing sweet, juicy pears. Are Bartlett pear trees invasive? Bartlett pear trees are not invasive, which makes them a great addition to my garden without worrying about them taking over other plants. Are Bartlett pears good for baking? For baking, Bartlett pears are fantastic. Their sweetness and juicy texture hold up well in pies and tarts, making desserts extra delicious. Are Bartlett pears good for diabetics? As someone with diabetic family members, I appreciate that Bartlett pears have a lower glycemic index, making them a healthier choice for managing blood sugar levels. Are Bartlett pears healthy? Bartlett pears are incredibly healthy. They're packed with fiber, vitamins, and antioxidants, making them a nutritious part of my diet. Are Bartlett pears keto-friendly? Unfortunately, Bartlett pears aren't keto-friendly due to their higher carb content, but I still enjoy them when I'm not strictly following a keto diet.